You guys may have noticed this week that Jagex gave us an update on ship combat and sailing. Now, I haven't been able to test it myself yet because I've been in and out of international business meetings all week, but I've heard some very questionable feedback from it. It sounds like on paper it was pretty good, but apparently it's crap. Now, they've given us an update on these sailing combat fixes. So let's read this and take any feedback you guys have about it. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Please let me know. So we've got the sailing combat fixes update from today. We've been reading all the feedback following this week's update on boat combat, particularly around cannons feeling less impactful than expected. While the update broadly aligned with the goals set in our summit blog post, it's clear that it's not quite landing where it should be. Cannons should feel impactful and satisfying to use, and your feedback shows us that further changes are needed. Let me pull up Twitter real quick because I think that's going to give us some context. Removing the damage cap on sea monsters was intended to make your gear feel more impactful. While gear being integrated into boat combat was a step in the right direction, it has also led to certain items like the Turmeric and Shadow significantly outperforming cannons, even at the top end. Which I think people are finding that just using the crewmates on the cannons is the best way to go, and you use your own gear. We understand that this can feel frustrating, especially as dragon cannons take so long to grind for. We don't have a full solution to share just yet, but we are actively reviewing the current balance and exploring ways to make cannons feel more impactful. We're working on an updated design, but we can't promise that it'll be ready for next week as we have to consider how it affects the game more broadly. We're expecting this to be ready in a matter of weeks rather than months, thank God. So keep your eyes peeled for more information on when it's ready. Additionally, a hotfix will be deployed later today to allow loot to bypass scenery. Allow loot to bypass scenery, similar to how it is prior to that. Okay. They appreciate the feedback and whatnot. Okay, so look, I haven't had the opportunity, unfortunately, to fuck with the sailing combat yet. I might have a look at it in the near future at a later date. This is them saying we've updated the blog. I don't know if there's been any feedback. Has anyone here been touching the sailing at all, other than It's Will memes? I agree with Coxie that they're kind of. I mean, they look promising, but I don't really know. I haven't seen much feedback. Maybe it's been on Twitter or something. I don't really. I mean, I don't know. I haven't had the chance to fuck with the sailing combat. But what they're saying here effectively is it's not perfect yet. And I'm getting the impression that they don't really know what to do, like how to perfect this. Like I feel like I'm worried we might get to a point where, how do I say this? Where it's not fixable. Does that make sense? Kind of like PvP. PvP is never going to be perfect. PvP isn't fixable because it's so difficult to get right without fucking the rest of the game. Like, what if the same thing happens here? Like, they're trying to do a different method of combat with boat combat while also trying to keep it old school RuneScape. Cannonball still suck. Max Mage is best in slot and it's not even close. Yeah, and that's because they removed that gear, the gear cap. But like, is there a problem that you use your main gear to attack sea creatures while you put your crewmates on the cannons? Is that really that big of a deal? I don't really. I'm not sure that it's that much of a problem. At least for me personally, I don't mind using my bow for while I have the boys on the boat. Because that's what they were looking at here, right? I do like the new design they have, by the way. I don't know if there's a picture of it somewhere. But they made, I think you have flaps now on your cannon rather than the little U's by the looks of it. But it's just very I don't get a lot of, this isn't very promising to me. They're now more worthless than they were. Right, so they're worse off. Okay, I see. Because they made the cannons slower, but harder hitting. And then they adjusted the HP on the NPCs, if I remember correctly. They adjusted the HP on the NPCs so that you weren't killing things too quickly, which basically tells me, on paper, nothing has changed. Your cannon just, like, attacks slower. But apparently, your gear's way better. Yeah, so the gear's even stronger now, which I'm not fully opposed to that. Like, that doesn't bother me entirely that I don't have to use a cannon. Or I can have the crewmates on the cannon. I like the AWST thing, the attractor, because that helps save cannonballs, but and the 2 cannons on one side of the boat is big. I think those are changes that are quite significant and more promising. They should look at games like Atlas and how to get it right. Perhaps an armor bar that needs cracked from cannon fire before it takes full damage. Yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, for anything with elemental weakness, it's awesome though, right? Since you get full damage, you get full damage no matter what now on when sailing. Yeah, with your main normal main gear. And I know they buffed the fuck out of the cannons and the cannonballs, but I don't let... I feel like up in the NPC HP just kind of undoes everything that they do, or that they did, like, all at the same time. Where is the NPC? I don't know. I can't remember where they put it, just by quickly scanning. They said that they made changes. Yeah, it was here, right? They expect the changes to boat combat in this update will significantly increase the amount of kills per hour, which will have an impact on the game's overall economy. Rather than tweaking drop rates, we've balanced this around the hit points of the sea creatures so that it will take a similar time to kill. Which basically means, the problem is the time to kill, right? With the ship combat. The problem was the time to kill. So the time to kill is technically the same now. You're just using less cannon. HP isn't enough. Cannons have immense stopping power. You could do something with that and cause stuns or whatever on sea creatures. I mean, some sea creatures, like armored krakens could have that, for example, right? And like other boats and shit, if you were to attack another boat. But I feel like if you're going to buff damage and then buff NPCs so that the fight is effectively the same amount of time, you're not buffing anything, are you? Because you're still spending that 35, 40 seconds to kill a fucking manta ray. You're just using less attacks, effectively, like, but you do because you're doing bigger hits. Like, maybe I'm crazy, but to me that just tells me that I'm in the same boat. It's the same shit. You've just changed the way that it, like, the end result is the exact same. It's just to get to that result is a little bit different. It's just labeled on water. Well, I mean, that you could say that for fucking anything, really. You could say that for wood cutting if you really wanted to. Like, I don't think it's got a whole lot to do with sailing, other than maybe the port tasks, but those are optional. Yeah, I like. Again, I really should go out there to see and test it, and I might try to do that like tomorrow over the weekend, and really give it a good look. But at the meantime, on paper and based on this feedback that they've given here, it sounds like it needs more work, and they're not really sure what they're gonna do here. Yeah, they're actively reviewing it and exploring ways to make the cannons feel more impactful. Like, the cannons they got to fuck, really. Create a new combat triangle, maybe. Cannons may damage Kraken. Well, the problem, no, it's not even that. That combat triangle ain't gonna do shit. The problem you're having here is that cannons and players can attack sea creatures. Why would you use... So really, cannons have to be just as powerful as the player's damage. Otherwise, you're never going to use the cannon. You put the NPCs in the cannon, and NPCs are always shitter than players because that's just how they're designed, which is totally fine. But you're not going to use the worst weapon, are you? There's a reason you don't use... you don't take the Abyssal Whip into Tob when you have anything that's better than the Abyssal Whip, because why the fuck would you use worse gear? You just wouldn't, right? It doesn't make any sense. You take a Fang into TOA when you have one, you stop taking the Rapier or the Hasta. Like, why would you do it? So I think an armor bar that needs to be continuously cracked with cannon fire would help, and if uncracked they have high flat armor. That's totally fine, but that also then turns basic cannon NPC PVM into a fucking chore. There's these things, they're called Aquanites. Okay, this is a good example, I think. Aquanites, when you slash them, okay, it cuts off this little orb, and then your stab damage is more powerful. They're weak to stab, but only once you've slashed them at least once. That requires you to actively switch weapon, or actually switch attack style, to make them weaker. And do you know what I do? I just stab them. I just don't waste my time with that shit, because it's a waste of my time. Or I just slash them, because they lose that much defense. Like, I don't want to have to work to kill this effectively. I just want to kill it. At the same time, I'm glad that you only have to do 30 for a Slayer task, because if I had to do 150, I wouldn't do them. I wouldn't unlock them. It's way too much. Like, so having like continuously cracked armor on on NPCs and selling, it has to have a purpose behind it. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time. Don't Yodo? Excuse me. Don't you think that this was a big oversight from JX, considering how bad they wanted selling in the game? I like selling, but I feel like this is something that should have been thought of before release. I think there should have been more selling combat reviewing. Yeah, I agree. Real question is, what is even the potential of a cannon combat system? Like, what's viable to add? Different types of cannonballs, different weapon, like having ballistas instead of cannons would be pretty cool. Using javelins, so then you've got like, I guess, blunt damage and piercing damage or something like that. Like, they can always do that. Like, that's not really a problem, but the problem really seems to be that you can use your player or your cannon to attack sea creatures. And the fact that your player is so much more powerful than your cannon, it makes cannons irrelevant immediately. So, is the problem that you can attack it with range and mage? It's stupid if you can't, because they're range and mage weapons. But why would you not do that? Why, if you have a shadow or a bofa or a blowpipe or even now a T-bow, why wouldn't you hit the sea creatures with it? That's the problem. The cannons have to compete with powerful gear. So I don't know. I'm not too sure. Unless you make the cannon super fucking powerful if you're on the cannon, but it's probably going to be more effective to have 2 crewmates in the cannon still. So I don't know. What's up, Big Ryan? How are you, man? It seems to be that it seems like there's probably an answer there, but they've got to really fucking find this balance. It's hard to really say that it's hard to say there's confidence in it at the moment, but trial and error, and just common sense, I guess. I don't know. I can't think of a solution, but then again, I need to go actually test this sailing combat out before I do anything. But in the meantime, let's do some Nightmare Mass and try to lock in an Inquisitor's drop or two before we start throwing hands at each other. That sounds like it'd be good fun. This is the easiest room in the raid. It's quite simple. You got a big boy. Look at him. God damn. Fuck me. Look at that boy.